I'm Elisa Coy, back with my panel today in the Diva studio. Latoya, Miss Diva, the infamous DJ, and Joanne, better known as Jody. Okay, so we've been talking about Irie and her dependency on this new man she's getting ready to marry. And I just want to resume that paragraph that we were already talking about. Irie says, in reflection, I had left the man who had been perfect at fulfilling my emotional gaps to begin a new life with a man who would be committed to hiding his emotional disorder. What was my problem? Was I attracting sick men, or was I sick?
She was sick.
She was sick, and
I'm sure. She was definitely sick.
I was just going to say I have a nurse on board, so she might can help us out a lot with this dependency and sick thing as well. But go ahead, she's sick. Why you say she's sick? Because she's leaving a man who caters to her emotions? Hell no.
I'm saying she's sick because of her mindset. If she feels like she needs to depend on somebody, then that's a problem in itself.
Okay, so BJ.
I think she's sick because if all she's attracted is sick men, there's something you're putting out that this is what you keep getting back.
Okay, Joanne. Do you believe we put something out and that attracts who we want?
Yep.
And so it's something that we're saying as we walk into.
I'm going to elaborate. I'm sorry. After you. So I have a friend who feels like she can help the man who she's with, and she can't.
Okay, but before you go any further, and I love what you're saying, here we go with this friend thing again. She loves to bring in the friends.
Oh, okay. I don't put their names out.
Okay.
I'm not speaking from, my personal experience, but
well, how she think she can help the man? Go ahead. We don't know who it is. How does she think she can help the man? What does she do? She pay rent? She buying cars? What she do, girl?
She lets him vent his frustration. She excuses the bad behavior. She lets him vent his frustrations on her in multiple ways. It's like different areas of abuse that she just puts up with because she feels like she studied these behaviors, so she's equipped to deal with it.
Okay, I studied those behaviors. This is my profession. But when it comes to personal relationships with people, my profession and my personal relationship, they clash.
I totally agree.
And I have to separate. I find myself needing help to deal with people who I know personally.
Yeah.
Because when it's somebody you approach it in a whole different way.
And sometimes you have to totally back out of it. It's not for you to fix.
Right. Now, if that's your calling, then that's one thing. But if this is truly not my calling, and this person is just some random person that was dumped on me, and God did not tell me to approach this situation, I think it's best for you to back out. Because just because you are the expert, even doctors don't always perform surgery on their own people. Yeah, so, I know one doctor that, well,
you got a friend too?
No, I'm just saying sometimes. So that led me to two questions. What is an emotional gap?
The two people are not connected.
What's
an emotional gap?
Okay, or that you strongly agree on one thing, but the other person strongly agrees on something else, and somewhere in the middle, your belief is stronger or weaker than their belief, and it causes some kind of separation between you two, so that causes a gap. And it's the lack of motivation. It's lack of motivation an indicator that one is experiencing an emotional gap.
Wait, repeat that.
Lack of motivation. Because she said, in reflection, I had left a man who had been perfect at fulfilling my emotional gaps to begin a new life with a man who was committed to hiding his emotional disorder. But in the beginning, she said, truly I was lacking motivation. So she believes herself that she's lacking motivation. So is lack of motivation an indicator that something's wrong? Not necessarily an emotional gap, but we can take it there. But it's lack of motivation. Now you're getting ready to get married to the man who's going to be the husband for the rest of your life. But yet you're lacking motivation. Now we know brides are usually excited. They want to do all of these different things and have all these different parties. But if you're lacking motivation, but you're still going forward, you're feeling a separation somewhere, but yet you're still going forward, is this lack of motivation an indicator that something's maybe not all the way right?
Yes. It sounds like what you're saying is you have this big, supposed to be big milestone or event in your life that you are not excited about. You are not looking to make moves on to make sure it happens the way it should, so on and so forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
But no, that's not what you're getting from it.
Okay, what did you
But
say?
if the two people, if they're not emotionally connected and they're about to get married, then they need to get help, because that's going to linger on into that marriage and something is not going to work out. You have to be emotionally connected with the other person or if it will work out.
So lack of motivation could be an indicator that you're
could be.
experiencing some type of emotional gap. Okay, Tanya, what were you going to say?
Sometimes I feel like in me, once again, I'm always focused on the individual. Sometimes I feel like lack of motivation could be from the individual person. What are you missing within yourself that you're not motivated? What are you missing within yourself that you don't feel that connection with the other person if the other person is providing that jumpstart for you to have that connection?
And so many times that's truly the key. It's not the other person, it's what your deficits
It's the
are.
self-reflection that
Right.
I'm big on, right?
Right. So my last question then is, how do we identify an emotional disorder? Because she also said, I was getting ready to leave the man who was perfect at fulfilling my emotional,
I had a situation like that. No.
We like situations.
I had a situation where I was being fulfilled emotionally, but then I didn't feel like I was being fulfilled in other areas, and it just, I pushed the situation away because I felt like I needed more than just an emotional connection.
So he was emotionally there for you, but are you saying he wasn't financially there for you? Do we turn away from the emotional connection, the thing that's going to feed us the most because we want to see the money?
I think we shouldn't.
But do we?
I think we do.
Okay. I mean,
I'll be honest and say I think we do, but I think we shouldn't at the same time.
okay, so
It's
why
definitely a learning
shouldn't we?
experience.
Because I want to say something too, but why shouldn't we?
Because the money might not always be there. That's why.
Or could it be that later on in life we can get the money?
Right.
Sometimes
Right
we
now,
will.
you could get the money if you focus on yourself and do the self-reflection that she's talking about, instead of worrying about what this man gonna do for you. Or the other way around, because I guess it's not
That
always the
could
woman
be
depending on
true.
the man. Sometimes the man depending on the woman.
Well, I mean, case in point, I really don't feel like no individual, not a man, not a woman, I don't feel like anybody should be a meal ticket for anybody. Meaning, I don't feel like you should feel like your life is going to change, increase, decrease substantially because you have somebody in your life or they're not in your life. I feel like your life should be based on the way that you want to experience, the rest of your life, the way you want to live, the adventures you want to take. I feel like you should definitely be proactive in making sure that your visions for your life come to pass.
Well, I disagree.
So you would depend on somebody else to make sure your life comes into full fulfillment?
And this is why.
Really?
So, back up a little, because I want to make sure I can see everybody. I might not be as smart as the man who I chose to marry. I can then support him from home while he goes out, get the degree, get the job. I don't necessarily have to bring money to the table to provide the support that a couple might need. For example, if I'm working, making a lot of money, he's working, making a lot of money, we're kind of neglecting the relationship. So I think a relationship is about balance. Both parties can do the same thing or be in the same position, but I think it works better when you are strong where he's weak, or he's weak. I mean, he's strong where you're weak, because we don't want the weak men. But I do believe in balance. And I don't necessarily think that a relationship should end because financially he can't provide for you.
I totally agree.
As I always say, You don't have to provide for me, but don't come take nothing from me. Now, if he can handle his end and he's not taking from me, if I'm not going out the house emotionally or physically drained because I'm all the parties in the relationship, I can go with the relationship. So I just need to know what is your role and how are you going to play it. And when you're not playing it, if that happens, can I redirect you and you be good with that? So I understand, you know, being less if it's going to get you more. So sometimes less to me is more. Because, for example, in my own personal life, when I was going to school, I had children. But I also had somebody who was willing to watch the kids sometimes while I went to school. Had I not had that, I wouldn't have been able to basically complete my degree because I was already, I started my family real early. So it depends on what you need in your life at the time. Yeah. Okay. So great discussion. I loved it. Jody, DJ, and Latoya, and that was the first part of the conversation on dependency.